Hi, and welcome to this webinar. I am going to explain to you how to design and implement process excellence in a very profitable way. Based on the PEX Network's research, a majority of organizations reported that interest in process excellence is expanding. And I don't wonder why, since it is one of the key drivers for business results nowadays. Does your organization have some kind of process excellence initiative going on, or are you thinking about having one? In that case, this webinar is meant for you. Regardless of you already having a process excellence initiative or just thinking of having one, there are a few things which are really important for you to succeed. We'll discuss about this topic from 4 different perspectives. The first is, what is process excellence? The second one is, what are the critical success factors? Then we'll look into how customer experience is related to process excellence. And the fourth thing is how change and innovation help to achieve process excellence. But before we go into that, let me introduce myself with this short video. I have been doing business process and customer experience management related projects and training for over 10 years now. Today, I will share with you some ideas on how you can succeed in your process excellence initiatives, as well as a couple of case stories from projects that I have been involved with lately. Let's start from what process excellence actually is. I am writing a doctoral thesis on business process management capabilities. And when I started that research, I quite quickly came across the fact that it is really not clear what people mean when they talk about processes, excellence, or even success. Let's take a few seconds and think about what process excellence means to you. Here is a short video which gives, at least to my opinion, a quite good perspective on what process excellence is. What do you think? Does this give a meaningful definition for the process excellence? If we agree that the great customer experience is the main goal to achieve, then processes are the way to produce that customer experience, and process excellence is the most efficient way to deliver those great customer experiences. This should be in our focus based on the scientific research results that show customer experience leading to increased revenues. Where does it put the traditional process tools then? What is the future of Lean, Kaizen, and Six Sigma when they are not built for the customer-centric service businesses, but many companies are still trying to use them in that way? The biggest problem with these traditional methods are the data-heavy implementation and slowness to bring the results on the table. World is changing so much faster than most of the companies, and that will cause a lot of growing and change pain. To prove this point, the percentage of companies reporting use of Six Sigma has dropped from 70% in 2005 to only 33% in 2013. Another big problem with this kind of method is that it is missing one really key of the whole process excellence puzzle. What do you think is missing from here? I'm sure you knew it. The customer is missing. Pretty much none of the traditional methods contain customer as a key driver for the process excellence. Those methods are looking the organization inside out, that is from their own perspective instead of customers. The problem arises from the fact that the customers are the reason for those processes to exist in the first place. Customers actually pay for those processes to run at all. And that being said, wouldn't it make sense to have the processes aligned to the customer experience? But we'll talk more about that later in this webinar. When designing the process excellence, we need to move our focus from those traditional best practices that are not aligned to current business environment to next practices that involve customer on all levels of process excellence. We'll talk about the change-related matters a bit later, but as we can see, the customer-centric process excellence will have effect literally on all aspects of the organization. And it does make sense, since the whole organization is built, like Peter Drucker said, to create a customer. One of the key elements here is the change of focus from internal activities to customer outcomes. There is no point having activities that do not contribute to something customers are not willing to pay for. Have you ever thought that since the customers care so much about what you do that they are willing to give their time and their money to you, they might also want to participate what's happening in your organization? As we all have seen, today customers want to be more and more inclusive in your business, but we are pushing customers away with the way we handle our processes, that is internally with no customer involvement. However, all that I have said so far regarding the traditional methods needs to be put into a context. I'm not saying that, for example, Lean and Six Sigma are not useful. They are actually very useful when they are put into a right use. But as we know, they are designed for manufacturing organizations. Let me introduce you to one I have been working with for several years. Isn't it quite fascinating that there still is a car factory in Scandinavia, which is regarded as high pay rate area? Most of the other car factories have been either closed or sold to Chinese. What this car factory has been able to understand is that it is not enough to do the things right, but also to do the right things. What they have done is to use lean for manufacturing processes and customer experience management for customer facing processes. As you could see, the factory itself is really lean and neat. Everything is in very organized fashion. The famous German punctuality starts to look like being always late compared to this factory. You might have noticed from the video that all the employees wear the same outfit and people work together. Highly automated systems take care of delivering the parts into the car just in time. But that's not really the secret of their process excellence. It has more to do with the customer side. Instead of leaning out the customer-facing processes, they have really asked that what is it that this world needs from a car factory which is not located in cheap labor country. They found out that it takes ages for other car factories to start manufacturing new models, so they made that easier. They also found out that other car factories are not able to produce really high quality design services, so they started doing that. Sure, they have had some difficult times, but the car factory still exists and shows that there is still need for high quality work in automotive industry in Western Europe. And the only way they were able to achieve that was through process excellence, which does not only do the right things, but also does them right. Okay, that concludes the short introduction to what process excellence is. Next, we'll talk about success factors that contribute to process excellence. I have been writing my doctorate thesis on those factors. So, what would you guess is the most important success factor that has the biggest impact whether your process excellence initiatives will fail or succeed? It is the top management support. And it does make a lot of sense, doesn't it? Sounds almost trivial. If the top management is not supporting the initiative, then it is really difficult to get the needed resources to make it happen. Also, people will follow the leaders, and if they will not show the process excellence to be important for the future of the company, then people will dismiss it as yet another fad. So let's take a look what the other important success factors are. Removing silos and working over functional borders is second very important factor. Most of the processes will somehow involve people from several departments, so if those people are not able to work seamlessly together, then the process won't work either. That is probably one of the biggest challenges companies are facing today, since the structures have been built so rigid that it is difficult to make things happen. There is simply too much red tape. It all comes from the company culture, because culture is always stronger than processes. People will do what they are used to do, no matter what the process manual says. And for that very reason, you want to create customer-centric process culture, which continuously strives for excellence. It does not come without work, I can promise you that. I will share with you one case story about a project that I was involved in some time ago and which didn't have those success factors in place. The average lifespan of a company listed in the S&P 500 index of leading US companies has decreased by more than 50 years in the last century, from 67 years in the 1920s to just 15 years today. By the year 2020, more than three-quarters of the S&P 500 will be companies that we have not even heard of yet. How long do you think your company will survive in this kind of business environment? Is it closer to 15 or 70 years? This situation reminds me of one customer case I did earlier this year for an IT company. This company used to be really innovative and they were able to grow from 5 founders business to 200 people strong. You can imagine how the company changed from these enthusiastic entrepreneurs to hierarchical organization which is run like any other IT company. At the same time, there are new competitors coming to the markets all the time. One particular competitor has been quite successful and is gaining market shares rapidly. Do you know what the funny thing was? The company I was working with said that the new competitor is just like they were years ago. But now it wasn't any more comparison of these two companies being alike, but rather it was a distant memory of a history long gone. Well, anyway, the matter of the fact is that the IT company is losing customers and market share, but at the same time, the top management has really made ambitious goals to reach. I went to that company to do the current state analysis and to start to draft the recommendations to the top management. They were determined to grow sales and profits really rapidly. The analysis showed that the basis of the organization is quite okay, but it is missing process and customer-led strategy on how to improve the organization. They claim that the top management support is strong and it won't cause any problems. Well, I bet you can already guess which direction this case story will start to go. So I suggested that since the biggest areas to develop are in the areas of process excellence and customer experience, we focus on those two matters. To do that, and to get the top management really enthusiastic about this change project, we arranged a one-day seminar where we show how the process excellence and customer experience support each other to enable the organization to make bigger profits quicker. And so, the day for the seminar came. Quite many of those board members and CEOs were late already. When he came into the room, first thing he did was look at his watch and ask when is the time for lunch. How would you describe that kind of leadership? The seminar day is designed to run in the biggest strategic change since the company was founded. But throughout the day, the CEO had calls, wrote emails, and didn't really participate in the discussions at all. At the same time, some board members were demanding for change. This whole lack of top management support towards the process excellence and customer experience agenda caused them to have a physical fight at the end of the day. As you can imagine, the whole initiative was killed at the instance. Naturally, that caused us to make an in-depth retrospective on what happened. We even interviewed some of the board members individually to find out what went wrong. What we found out was that the founding members, which CEO is also part of, didn't see any need to develop the company. They thought trivial contact purchase project would solve their sales issues. They completely neglected the results our analysis showed, which was very low process maturity and bad customer experience. Today, about 6 months later, when this happened, the company still declines rapidly. So, what do we learn from this? Yes, the top management support is crucial for process excellence initiatives to succeed. Now let's move on to our third topic on process excellence. We already talked about the customer experience earlier, but I will show you why exactly it is one of the most important aspects in process excellence. The chart presented here is based on 14 years of research. It shows that when companies make cost-cutting initiatives, also many times known as process excellence projects, it has some side effects which are difficult to predict. One of those is that when you cut costs, you many times have unintentional changes to customer experience also. That will lead into a situation where, let's say, a Lean Six Sigma project has been completed and the short-term results look really good. The consultants and the black belts will get their bonuses and the company keeps on going. But not long after, they start to notice again problems in profits and revenues. Due to cost-cutting program, the customer experience has been affected and the revenues start to decline again. This research has shown that the revenues follow customer experience with a time lag. So when you either improve or make customer experience worse, you will see the effect in revenues after a short while. What it tells us is that it actually makes more sense to have a customer experience improvement initiative instead of cost cutting. And that is where you need to choose whether you do the traditional process excellence initiative where the waste is removed from the organization's own perspective and the side effects to customer experience are unknown, or whether you do a purposeful process excellence initiative which is designed to align the processes to customer strategy. The results that approach is able to bring are not difficult to see from the chart shown here. Let's make it very simple. If you do not take care of your customers, someone else will. And process excellence is the way to produce great customer experiences through all the work that is done in an organization. Alright, next let's discuss about innovation and change, which is our last topic related to process excellence in this webinar. Let's go back to the table I showed earlier regarding designing the process excellence. Here are the elements that are directly related to innovation and change. Focus should be changed in these two aspects, also from organization-centric to customer-centric. The traditional change methods focus on the symptoms and effects of issues. It is much more useful to focus on the outcomes and root causes instead, because fixing them will also fix the symptoms. I have noticed in several cases that one root cause can have even tens of symptoms, so it makes it quite evident that it is better to fix the one cause rather than trying to tackle all 10 effects. Also, the speed of change has increased so much in the business world that the traditional change methods take way too much time. Or does your company have 12 months to wait for the first process improvement results to show in the bottom line? Based on the PEX Network's research results, in year 2005, average length of a process improvement project used to be less than 3 months only in 8% of cases, when today it is over 22%. So the competitors are catching up and moving into faster methods. Let's take a look at innovation from a couple of different perspectives. When companies present themselves to their customers, they pretty much always start from what they do. Then they tell how they do it and possibly why. But if you think about it, why you choose one option over other, there is always some kind of reason behind it. We people tend to think in pictures, and that causes us to see the reason why something is done. Therefore, it is much more powerful to start with why and then build on that how to deliver that why and by doing what. So you turn the traditional way of presenting the business upside down and start from explaining why you do something. As an example, I'm giving this webinar to you because I believe the customer-centric process excellence is the most important enabler of profitable business today. Another important aspect of innovation is the level of innovation we do. Based on one research, about 90% of innovation in companies is so-called incremental innovation. It means that we little bit tweak and improve the products and services we offer to same customer base. As you can imagine, customers are probably happy to get those improvements, but it won't make them really excited. It is pretty much same thing as seeing yet another flavor of yogurt in the store. Ah, nice. Now I can get the durian flavored yogurt. The second level of innovation is adjacent innovation, which is not so directly related to our current service and customer base, but still it's not so far from that. If we still use the yogurt analogy, it would then mean low fat and no added sugar yogurts that taste durian. But the most radical innovation is disruptive innovation, which has the highest risk but also the highest return when it succeeds. There is no innovation without disruption. Like Albert Einstein used to say, the definition of insanity is to do the same things over and over again and expect different results. When you start to innovate together with the customers and all levels of employees in your organization, then you may come up with a yogurt which will help people with very common problem of constipation. That is something that will get people excited. As last thing, I want to share a few tips with you on how to get people on board with change and innovation. At the end of the day, most people are in this world to gain something for themselves. That will mean that they evaluate whether the benefits of doing something will overcome the efforts it requires. So whatever we ask people to change, we should make sure we show to them how it benefits them more than not doing it. The second point is that you have to tie the benefits together with the goals. If you ask someone to plow the field, they are not very excited about that. But if you tell them to plow the field so they will be able to grow their food on it, that ties the benefits and goals together and makes it more appealing to do. Then the third tip is that people need certainty. If they are afraid of the change or too frightened to innovate, things will not advance. Having really good communication about the changes and enough information to share will help a lot in decreasing the change resistance. So make sure you talk to your people. That concludes the 4 different perspectives on the process excellence. Let's have a quick recap before we end this webinar. In the first part, we discussed what process excellence actually is and came in the conclusion that it is a way to produce great customer experiences. Then we talked about the success factors, and as my case story illustrated, the top management support is really important for process excellence to succeed. This year only 5% of companies reported to be highly successful in their process excellence efforts. So there's a lot to improve to make it higher. Then as a third topic, we discussed was about the financial importance of customer experience as part of the process excellence. We now know that revenues follow customer experience with a time lag, so we should purposefully manage the customer experience we create as a company. The last thing we discussed was change and innovation, and most important point there was to start with why and after that talk about how and what. Thank you very much for attending this webinar, and I hope it has been useful too. Here are my contact details, and you are more than welcome to contact me for any questions you may have. Also, please connect with me in LinkedIn so we can stay in touch. Thank you and goodbye.